before the fire engines got there, and you're able to drive out here, that's one thing, but that's a good point. Walking is a better option for us.
Yes, ma'am.
You just need something for those of us who can't walk or have great difficulty walking. So just when you're evacuating, you know that there's some of us folks that are
Absolutely.
not
There's a strong balance there.
that's all.
And I think that probably in at least one case, I thought one evacuated person was brought down in a police car.
We were offered, somebody actually offered us, I think it was Walter, somebody said, if you guys need to get down, we can issue you.
And that always is a great point too, because the police and the CEBs and the public works and the fire folks are going to be out there helping you and giving you directions. That's all you need to tell them is that I can't walk, or I have a person with me who is mobility challenged and they need to be in a vehicle, and we'll get a vehicle to you. We'll do that.
Is there some system of phone alerts?
Yeah.
Reverse line, yeah. We need to look into that, I think.
Where it goes out to everybody?
Yeah, there is such a program as Reverse 911. We don't we do have access to it via the county.
Schools have it,
It was utilized somewhat in San Diego. I agree with you. One of the programs though that I want to highlight that's out there as well, there is a system called Roam, which is a countywide alert network. If you go to the city's blog, Caroline, remind me what that website is, brisbaneca.blogspot. Okay, if you go there, there's a direct link. It'll take you to the San Mateo County Office of Emergency Services, and there's a spot where you can sign up. And what it does is any digital device you have that you want to put on there, if you have a pager, if you have a cell phone that takes text messages, a smartphone, your email, any of those, you can get a text message. And in fact, we use that on the evening of the fire. I actually can access it from my portable laptop, but in this case, San Mateo County OS's communication truck showed up. They had internet access like that. So as we put the evacuation order out, we put that out so all 423 presently registered people got that text message. And when the evacuation order was lifted and people were allowed to go back in their homes, we also sent it out via that. So I encourage you to do that for two reasons. Number one, it's real handy. It's by far the quickest way of doing it. It's actually faster than the reverse 911. And the second thing is that what's kind of neat about the program is that you can put in more than one area of interest. So you can put in that you live in Brisbane, but if you work in San Jose, you can put that down as an area of interest too. So you'll get targeted for events happening in either case. Like for instance, if folks who are commuting back, it was 2 months ago now, we had that tanker spill on 101. You would have got email alerts on that as well. So I certainly encourage you to go to the city's blog spot and look for that. Or you can just type in County OES, County Office of Emergency, San Mateo County Office of Emergency Services, and go there. And there's also going to be more information. We're going to keep putting out the staff report for the next city council meeting. I've got that information listed in there too, so it's out there in a bunch of different places for you. Karen, you had your hand up.
I tested the system the other day, just from a resident's perspective and from a community emergency volunteer perspective. And in both cases, when we registered on that system, we got the alerts within seconds on whatever device that we registered. So it works very, very quickly.
Thank you for that feedback. It works quickly. Yes, ma'am, right here.
I live on 209 Trinity, and my thing was just when we evacuated down, Walt said go down to the community park, but then actually I had the kids with some friends, so we went over there, and I was just wondering, like, where is somewhere where, they saw us leaving, so like, but I never arrived down in the park, and I was just wondering if there's somewhere just to say, hey, we are safe, we are in some friend's house, that.
So you're wondering if there's a place we could set up that you could check in with the city to let us know?
Yeah, not that they say, hey, well, where is Therese?
Let's so a call-in. A call-in place for
Message board.
Message board.
That's a good perspective. What do you think about that?
I have a couple of questions. One was, who evacuated Humboldt Road? Who were the people that were telling people to evacuate?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, that was my main question, because there was some guy who rode down on a bicycle yelling, Humboldt's supposed to evacuate, and I don't know who he was. I didn't pay any attention to him, because he never stopped, he never talked to anybody, he didn't knock on anybody's door, he just went flying down the street on a bicycle. And I did not take him as being an official person. So when you did evacuate people, say up on Trinity or King Road, who told them to evacuate? How were they notified?
Trinity and Kings, the police officers went door to door. Trinity Kings, Margaret Fall, we had the police go.
In evacuations, the fire department doesn't do evacuations. They'll assist. It's left to law enforcement. So if you're concerned about who's telling you to evacuate, it's going to be uniformed personnel telling you to evacuate. And I can tell you, it just kind of spreads through the community, and people everywhere will be saying to evacuate. That's what happens. But the official people are law enforcement and/or public works people that you know are official people telling you to evacuate.
Thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's just the psychology of what happens in a fire. Paul?
The day of the fire, my neighbor Dan and I drove up to see where it was coming from and realized it was in Owl Canyon. And I mentioned to you, Randy, that there were homeless people sleeping in there. Well, I didn't know they were in there, but you ordered officers to go in to see if there were people in there, and of course they were evacuated, they were sleeping. So I think they've worn out their welcome, and I would hope that the county and the state would go in there and have them removed from that canyon, because they put our officers at risk, because nobody expected there to be people living in that area. The other thing I'd like to note is that when we came back into town, my neighbor Dan did a real good job keeping who's the CEV, keeping the neighbors calm, because even though we're at the 500 block of Alvarado and wasn't anywhere close to the upper reaches of Brisbane, people were panicked, and people were running in and out of their houses, throwing stuff in their cars, and you did a good job keeping them calm, Dan. That was something that I noted, that as much as far away as we were from the fire, there needed to be a sense of order. And so without somebody that was trained to keep people calm, there could have been some situations. And two other things I wanted to note was that we've talked about it at council meetings in the past as far as worst case scenario, and had the winds been really blowing out of the northwest like they do, we could have had a real bad situation. There weren't the airplanes, it was getting dark, we weren't having the resources that we normally would expect. And so, you know, maybe the idea about wetting things as far as the town, because that's what the fixed wing airplane would do. They would provide adequate defensible space by wetting things down. So maybe we could revisit that idea. And the last note that I had that I'd like to bring up is that I noticed that a four-wheel drive piece of fire equipment, after the fire burned through Owl Canyons, drove up the ridge between Owl and Buckeye Canyons and created some pretty serious damage to the surface of the soil, which is going to be a big erosion problem. So I thought they kind of had a sense of when there's a fire in the preserve, which Owl and Buckeye Canyons are a preserve, fish and game preserve, that we need to look at maybe not bringing certain equipment up in there. And the fact that after the fire, the piece of equipment drove up there, I thought that was kind of necessary.
Just to comment on two of the points. The first point about trying to put water up into that area to wet it down. We don't do that because it evaporates and it dries out before it gets there.
I was talking about the town, not the
Well, either way, if we then take that water and don't have it available for fire apparatus to use to protect structures, then we lose that piece of it.
We have storage tanks that aren't just holding water, they're being filled as they're being used. So I understand that concept about not wanting to use fire flows, but we're not fighting fire yet in town.
Yeah, and nobody uses the strategy and tactic you're talking about in that way for water. It's just not effective. There's no way to get enough water out to take it all around your whole community and have something like that. It's not something that will work. As it relates to damage up there, if there's any damage, CAL FIRE on any incident will come back through, because there will be damage.